My name is Nomi Prins, and as you can see, I'm standing here outside a gas station. But something strange is happening at the pump, and I'm not talking about prices. In my travels, I have discovered that it's spreading across the country, and soon it will likely even affect the pumps in your own neighborhood. But that is exactly what I would like to prepare you for, because it will change not only the way we commute to work and fill up our cars, it will have massive ripple effects throughout the entire economy. How food is delivered to our supermarkets, how packages arrive at our doorstep, how millions of people get to work, and how first responders like police and firemen do their jobs. The Wall Street Journal put it bluntly: gas stations face a tough, costly choice, and I've discovered it's a choice they know they have to make. It's about, quote, to overtake pumps in the profitability race, a fact that I have confirmed through Reuters. It's either switch out and install the newer, more efficient pumps that you'll see in this exclusive briefing, or lose money out of sheer stubbornness. What may surprise you, as it did me, is the profit potential of what's replacing America's old pumps. Business Insider called it white hot, with dozens of companies, new and old, competing to dominate this space. So if you're an investor or concerned about the economy, or if you simply depend on your vehicle for your business or just for getting around, it is so important to know what's going on and to prepare yourself for this shift. I cannot stress that enough. Preparation is everything in this new economy. The choices you make, especially with your money, could decide which side of the story you end up on. Everything from pension funds to IRAs, ETFs, and even so-called safe stocks will be impacted by this massive shift, and the aftershock will likely shake the energy market to its core. It's what Stanford economists are predicting. I will show you what's behind me will soon be in your neighborhood, at your fingertips, and it could lead to huge profits. If history in the stock market are any indicator, I'm predicting you can double and potentially triple your money over just the next 12 months. Over the long haul, maybe 10 times your money, but only if you prepare now. And all because a new kind of energy crisis is developing, one that has nothing to do with what you're hearing on the mainstream news. So why don't you follow me and I'll show you. Again, my name is Nomi Prins, and for over 15 years, I worked at the highest levels of Wall Street. I was a managing director for banks like Goldman Sachs, working along future Treasury secretaries like Hank Paulson and Steve Mnuchin. I also worked at Chase, at Lehman Brothers, and at Bear Stearns. But what opened my eyes was when they told us to get back to your desk and keep trading when planes were hitting the Twin Towers. That was when I realized how heartless that whole system is, focused on just one thing: money. So I cashed out of my career and I went rogue. And I decided to show people just how dark this world really is. Today, I make my living as one of the most feared financial reporters on both Wall Street and Washington. One of the first books I ever wrote, Other People's Money, exposed the highest levels of corruption coming out of the dot-com collapse and the mega scandals like Enron, while also predicting the next collapse, which was the 2008 crisis. I can't be sure if you've read it, but there is one thing I'm certain of. You remember 2008, and you remember what it likely did to your hard-earned money and your portfolio. So imagine if you had a guide telling you it was coming. Well, that's what I am hoping to do for you today, to alert you to the seismic shift that's coming to the energy markets, and to tell you what's about to happen at the pump nationwide. I know my reporting like this one has helped protect a lot of people's money when they listened carefully to my words. I told folks in 2017 when gold was $1,100 that it was going to spike, and today it's closer to $2,000. In 2018, I called the green energy boom, and in 2019, I accurately predicted record-level stock buybacks. In 2020, I warned of the COVID crash a full 44 days before the chaos hit the US markets. And in 2021, I went on national TV to identify the dangers of inflation when the Federal Reserve was still pretending that it didn't even exist. But the reason I'm coming to you today is a little different. I believe that what's about to happen across America and at the gas pump is no mere prediction. It is 100% certainty. You see, a new energy crisis is unfolding. You're seeing it in action. Prices at the pump have soared beyond $5 a gallon, and in some places, like in Los Angeles, where I live, there was a place that charged as much as $8 a gallon. Crazy. Politicians want you to believe it's all because of Russia. Well, as you'll see, all of these fear-mongering headlines are actually a distraction from what's really happening. Because as we speak, companies like Chevron, BP, and Shell, they are planning the absolute unthinkable. Right as the world needs more oil, they plan on downsizing the oil and gas parts of their business. Reuters ran a story saying that 2022 is the year, and I quote, that big oil becomes small oil. Wow. Even the workers are quitting. It's crazy. Even in the face of booming oil prices, these oil companies are cutting workers and they're downsizing their operations. It just doesn't make sense unless you know the real story. ABC News reported that President Biden is conditioning Americans to accept the higher prices at the pump when he said, "I will not pretend that this will be painless." He added that prices will rise because freedom has its costs. But I mean, how much higher can they get? Prices at the pump are the highest in history. It's why more and more gas stations are going to have to switch over to the new pumps, like the station I was reporting at a moment ago. Or they're going to risk losing money. It's a new type of energy crisis, and it's one that we have never faced before. Most people think we're set for some sort of a return to the 1970s and the last oil crisis, which saw long lines at the pumps, or more recently when we saw shortages during the coronavirus. But this new crisis is far easier to explain, and it's even easier to see for yourself. It's the unbearable pain at the pump. Filling up has gone from $70 to $90 to maybe even $120 for folks with larger vehicles. A friend of mine even paid up to $140 recently to fill up. Soon, millions of Americans will be spending $400 to $500 a month in gasoline. And that's as they struggle to keep up with the rising cost of everything else. The American Automobile Association says that you'll be spending at least $3,000 more on fuel cost. And that's also going to affect food prices, as you can imagine. This is exactly why these new, more efficient pumps are going to become more popular. Now, if you're skeptical, like I am, you're probably wondering, with all the oil fields here at home in America, how did we let this happen? The answer is, there just isn't enough of it to go around for the whole world. And that's why the International Energy Agency tapped the emergency oil reserves of 60 million barrels, trying to alleviate this situation. 60 million barrels. To put that into perspective for you, that's 2.5 billion gallons of gas. That would fill over 3,818 Olympic swimming pools, 108 miles long, oil as far as your eye can see. That's a really big number. But believe it or not, that will barely have an impact. It's not going to be enough to save America's old legacy gas stations. According to a study from my former employer, Goldman Sachs, we do not view this as sufficient relief, representing an only 1 month offset to a potential disruption to 1/3 of Russia's 6 million barrels a day. The Wall Street Journal reported in February 2022 that demand is outstripping supply, with little promise of relief ahead. Some are predicting diesel stations will actually run dry. But what's most damning of all is that America's energy shortages are being made worse by the oil companies themselves. And again, the reason is quite simple. They're abandoning oil and gas projects left and right. And they're getting into the business of these new pumps, as I'm going to show you in just a moment. BP is leading the charge. They recently told the New York Times its oil and gas assets were worth less, and that they were pulling out of the oil and gas business in the next few years. That's 40% of the company gone. They recently abandoned a $25 billion piece of property with oil rights. Exxon is considering following suit, as the Wall Street Journal reported, abandoning projects in excess of $5 billion in North Dakota. And Shell's CEO told Bloomberg that they are pushing ahead with this radical transition despite higher oil prices. So how does that make any sense, right? Oil is surging in price, and the CEOs could not be more bearish on their own industry. And meanwhile, politicians are watching from the sidelines, horrified that they're going to have to answer for higher prices at the pump during an election year. All of this has essentially forced Washington's hand. It's why they're now mandating these new pumps across America. And this is perhaps the most important thing that you need to know. Congress has now signed into effect a new law, a single move that could wean the U.S. off oil and foreign energy overnight. And it's the reason you're going to start seeing a lot more of these stations like the one I was just reporting from. I've spent a lot of time speaking with my contacts in Washington, but I never expected what I ultimately found out. Through my connections, I uncovered a trail of $550 billion tucked away in a federal document. That's $500 billion, specifically earmarked for America's new energy crisis. The official name of the document is H.R. 3684. Now, that's a boring government title, probably by design, to keep people from panicking. But once I had my hands on this official document and I went over all 1,039 pages to see it for myself, I saw that more money is going into one sector of the market than anything I'd ever seen before. The White House even admitted it, saying it's a once-in-a-generation investment. And my recent meetings at the Capitol have revealed that this is only the beginning. They have this other plan in place to inject even more money with yet another new bill. It's the farthest reaching infrastructure project that I have ever seen. Over the next 8 years, with a $500 billion at their disposal, they'll be bagging up gas stations all over the country and switching them over to these more efficient ones. The official document from Congress is targeting 500,000 stations. And to put that number into perspective, we will see more radical changes in the next 8 years than in the previous 114 years. 114 years of traditional gas stations. If you've heard the expression before, there are decades where nothing happens and then weeks where decades happen, this is that moment as an investor. Entire decades are about to unfold over just the next few weeks and months. Even when this sector was in its earliest phases, before this nationwide rollout went into effect, it already generated incredible gains. Companies like Aligo, going straight up from its IPO, doubled in value. Beam Global made investors 1,035% return, shooting up from $6.50 a share and topping $73 a share. And here's a company that jumped more than 3,000%, handing investors 33 times their money, going from just $1.54 a share to a peak of $53 and change. Now these are, of course, some of the best market examples. But I have a similar growing company that I'd like to tell you about that's specializing in these new fuel stations. Currently, its stock sells for less than 20 bucks. But I believe it could easily double and then triple its current share price within just the next 12 months. I've seen other Wall Street analysts calling for a price that's more than double its current price as well. Yet I've never met an investor that actually knows this company by name. I want to change that. Because over the long haul, I think this company can go up to 10 times its current price. You know, if I had to pick one sector, one stock to bet on, even in this turbulent economy, it'd be this one. Because energy transitions are often some of the most profitable times in America. Entire generational wealth can be created. But the problem is that most people don't see it. And the reason they can't see it is because they have never lived through one of these shifts in history. Nobody alive today has. So I'll let you in on a secret bit of history that 99% of people just don't know. It's really cool. Until the 1850s, the main source of energy in the world was, wait for it, whale oil. Imagine fishermen leaving in the morning and whether or not they returned with a whale carcass determined if they could turn their lamps on or power their oven or read before bedtime or see where they're going when they walk down the road at night. It's really hard to imagine, but whale oil actually controlled everything from the spread of news and information to the speed of commerce to businesses keeping the lights on, even the readiness of the US military. Just about every industry in the world depended on whale oil. But as technology advanced, early innovators and geologists realized some rocks literally oozed oil when dug out of the ground. They'd found a newer, far easier source of energy. But in the beginning phases, they didn't drill for oil. They dug for it. And the first man who ever thought to drill was laughed at. He was ridiculed. I'm not kidding. Business Insider ran a great piece on him called "The Sad History of the First Oil Driller." Now, it took 6 years of drilling in a little tiny town called Titusville, Pennsylvania, with thousands of dollars spent and absolutely nothing to show for it, before Edwin Drake finally struck oil in 1859. Drake, a man now completely forgotten by history until today, struck oil the very same day he received a letter from his main investor telling him to pack it up and to give up. Fortunately, he got the letter at the end of the day, after striking that oil. Now, the year after Drake's discovery, there were over 75 wells in Pennsylvania alone, meaning naysayers were proven wrong in just 12 short months. Now, the reason I tell you this quick story is because I really believe that the same exact thing is playing out today. Firms all over the world, from the automakers to the oil companies, they're making the switch from an inferior energy source to a better, more economic one. And what's coming out of these new pumps is not ethanol. It's not hydrogen, liquid natural gas. It's completely different than that. The only problem is most people don't see it. Probably because the last time this happened in America was over 160 years ago. But that's precisely what gives you such a huge edge right now. Now you can see what others can't. The growth and production ahead in this new market is similar to oil, just before society switched over to it. And if you hear nothing else today, I cannot emphasize this enough. The investors who recognize a total shift in the energy markets can make entire lifetimes of wealth. And again, history proves it, because while you may not know Edwin Drake, chances are pretty strong that you've heard about a guy named John D. Rockefeller. This man was running grocery stores before he ever heard of something called petroleum. But within 3 years of Drake's discovery, Rockefeller started his first refinery, one that cost him $72,500 or $1 million in today's money. It's estimated that Rockefeller's Standard Oil, had it not been broken up into 34 different companies in the early 1900s, would be worth more than $1 trillion today. That would make it one of the world's most valuable companies. And many of the oil stocks that we do know today came from Rockefeller's famous company. BP is a perfect example. Over the long haul, this stock showed peak gains of up to 8,500%, turning every $100 invested into it to over $8,500, and every $1,000 into $85,000. Now, that's a decades-long return, sure, but that's the kind of money that lasts for lifetimes. And this energy shift America is undergoing, I believe that it's going to create that same kind of lifetimes of wealth. Unfortunately, just like before in history, there's going to be skeptical people, and they're going to doubt what I'm about to show you. And just like they laughed at the earliest oil investors, saying things like oil coming out of the ground, pumping oil out of the earth like you pump water, nonsense, you're crazy. Well, mock these new energy trends all you want, but the earlier investors in oil became some of the richest people in history, all because they accepted the inevitable. That when a superior source of energy comes along, you absolutely must invest. But if you still think you're the smartest person in the room and society will never upgrade from oil, just consider this for a moment. Even the people who made their money in oil and gas are switching over their investment portfolios, and they are backing these new pumps. For instance, the Rockefeller Foundation, a 107-year-old philanthropic fund built by Rockefeller himself, said it will break from the industry that made it rich. The Koch brothers, I'm sure you've heard of them. 80 years ago, their family got rich in the oil business. Now they see the next generational investment is in America's new fueling stations. They realize that millions of cars are going to be filling up this way very soon. So in response, they've put down $750 million, as the Wall Street Journal uncovered. They reported Koch Industries is now the most diversified U.S. investor with more than 10 different investments in this very sector. This is one of the richest families to ever walk the planet. And I'm sure the Kochs realize that investing in America's new fueling stations is going to ensure their name and wealth lives on and on. Now, I want to be clear here. They're not flipping a switch on 500,000 stations overnight. But the richest investors are preparing right now. The oil and gas tycoons are preparing now. Forbes confirmed it, saying even the world's oil giants are getting ahead of the curve. Now, the people running these companies are not stupid. They know with $500 billion in federal funding, this is 100% inevitable, 100% guaranteed, and 100% backed by the government. After going over Washington's paper trail, I believe I know the next company set to rise during this energy transition. This company has already snagged 9 government contracts and counting. That's right, 9. And it's one of the only companies awarded a blanket purchase agreement with the government, meaning they're going to be selling a lot of these stations in bulk orders to Uncle Sam. It's a company Rockefeller himself would likely want to own. But before I tell you about that stock, I think it's time I showed you what's happening to America's gas stations. So let's go back to that station that we first met at. 500,000 pumps, 10,000 per state, averaging it all out. And it's not just regular folks using these fill-up stations. Soon, major brands are going to be filling up their entire fleets this way. These are the companies that haul our trash, come fix the power lines when they get knocked down. They're the companies that deliver products to our doorsteps, the companies that stock the shelves at our supermarkets. They're the lifeblood of our entire economy. So if you're ready, if you can accept those facts, let me show you this new pump. It actually doesn't look much different, right? Same cord, same handle, but where does the fuel come from? You might be wondering. And that's what is so very incredible, because it takes as little as 3 minutes for a quick top off and less than 15 for a complete fill up. No gas tank needed, no fumes, no noise, and no pollution. All 100% direct from the power lines that you pass by every single day. What do I mean? Well, I'm talking, of course, about electric vehicle charging stations. Now, I know I brought up a controversial subject with EVs, so please don't click out and bear with me, because I want to make one thing really clear. You don't have to like EVs to profit from them. You don't have to buy an EV to potentially double or triple your money on the stock I'm going to show you. I don't care what you drive. All I want is to help you profit from this. So don't make the mistake of thinking this is just a fad. EVs are the reason that companies like Shell, BP, and Exxon are downsizing major parts of their oil business and focusing more and more on charging stations. Even in the face of oil soaring to these new record highs, these oil companies, they aren't just moving on, they're doubling down. Royal Dutch Shell recently acquired an EV charging station so that they can begin transitioning all of their North America locations. It seems almost counterintuitive, right? At least to Main Street investors. Higher oil prices but less gas pumps? But that's because charging stations are about to outperform oil sales, and that's according to BP. There's more growth to it, and that means more money in it for their businesses. By 2030, it's been federally mandated that 50% of all vehicles are going to be electric. And by 2035, the government will never purchase a gas vehicle ever again, which Reuters confirmed. And the auto executives are fully on board with this too. And with car makers falling in lockstep with these new laws, the oil and gas companies have no choice. But it's a choice they have to make if they want all of that money. With $500 billion of congressional money right there on a silver platter and over 500,000 charging stations going up throughout the country, the oil companies see this as a huge opportunity, an almost guaranteed opportunity to expand their business. There will be more new stations in the next 8 years than in the previous 100 years of traditional gas pumps. It's a massive source of recurring value. BP has already publicly stated that its chargers will be more profitable than gas pumps. Think about it. No need to transport hazardous fuels or hire truck drivers to move it. There's no risks of spills or accidents. There's no need to fill underground tanks under our soil with harmful gas. These oil and gas companies, they're already making the transition. Now, one objection I hear a lot is, well, Nomi, you're living in some liberal city. Of course they're going electric. And you know what? A few years ago, you would be right. But look at how much the infrastructure has already developed around the country. And just think, 500,000 more stations are in the works. And it only takes a few minutes to fill up. People think it still takes hours to fill up an EV, but it doesn't. They're just dead wrong. I have traveled all over the country the past few months, and I have seen people using these fast charging stations all over the place, at local parks, at restaurants, at grocery stores, at local banks. Soon, Americans will charge their cars at stations while they're just relaxing under the trees at the park with their families, or filling up at their favorite restaurant, or while running errands at the bank. Soon, you'll be even able to charge up at places like McDonald's. In fact, the stock I've been waiting to tell you about, it's already partnered up with one of the busiest franchises in the world, Starbucks. Not only do customers get to charge their car while they hang out at Starbucks drinking lattes, the benefits become too good to pass up. With EVs, they're going to pay as little as 3 cents a mile. I have done the math on this because I like math. And that's the difference between paying $420 to charge up and drive for an entire year and 14,000 miles versus a gas vehicle paying $4.85 a gallon and coming in at a whopping $2,829. You tell me who's going to pay $2,400 more to cover the exact same amount of road. Look, I love old classic cars, so please don't get upset if you're a car enthusiast watching this. But the truth is, a day is coming when Camaros and Corvettes will not run on gas anymore. And I'm certainly not saying they're better. I love driving my old gas-guzzling Cadillac, and I am never getting rid of it, no matter how many new laws they come up with. All I'm saying is, as an investor, why not look at this the same way that Rockefeller would have? Why not look at this the same way the world's richest investors are looking at it? I found a stock that could easily double or triple in the next 12 months. Wouldn't you want to know about it? What if I'm right over the long haul and it goes up 10 times in value? Think about the money you could make without even ever getting behind the wheel of an EV if you don't want to. The stocks supplying this industry have been huge for investors. Proterra showing peak gains of 159% in just a month and a half. MP Materials up 448%. Lucid Group showing peak gains of 435% in just 3 months. I told you how Beam Global shot up from $6 a share to $73 in less than a year's time. And the other company, Blink, handed investors 30 times their money in 10 months' time. Even though these are some of the most exceptional gains in this corner of the market, I just hope that you're starting to see the potential of what you've stumbled upon here today, especially when the stock I found is less than $20 right now. You can get shares for less than a tank of gas. And this charging station company is doing everything right. For starters, the company just partnered up with Toyota. That's in addition to its partnership with Volvo, two of the biggest car companies in the world, selling over 2.5 million vehicles. And this is the company they want charging those vehicles. I told you they have a handful of government contracts. They're supplying the fleets of Ohio, New York, Rhode Island, with locations in Texas, California, and Washington as well. But the reason I picked this company is because it's pioneering a whole new type of charging station where you fill up your car while you're inside doing your shopping. I mentioned how the company just inked a deal with Starbucks. I know you've seen people sitting at these types of places all day long. They're installing stations every 100 miles, stretching all the way from Denver to Seattle. That is a lot of Starbucks. So imagine a customer goes inside, gets a latte, and when they come out, their car has charged up. And it's not just some stretch of road out west. Just look at how much this company is expanding. They have customers everywhere, from the US to Europe. It's what's called a commerce-centric charging company. And what that means is that they want to be the go-to company that other businesses partner with. and have charging stations in their parking lots, just like with Starbucks. Customers keep coming back to stores like these because they can charge their car while shopping, getting two things done at once, and who doesn't want to do that? The company revealed they charge twice the cars while dramatically reducing the cost. Charging revenue is up more than 100% for the most recent quarter. Total revenue is expected to top $500 million in 2023. The company recently raised its guidance, Wall Street's favorite growth metric. And if you look at the management of this company, almost 40% of the company is owned by its insiders. That is a great sign that they not only believe in their stock, but they value it enough to keep holding on to it. At less than $20 a share and its current market cap just 1% of the $550 billion flowing into this sector, that would double the size of the company instantly. Imagine if 2% of that money hits their books, or 3%. It's not a stretch, especially as they expand globally. The EV market in Europe is on track to be worth $143 billion in just a few short years. And while we have an order for 500,000 new stations here in the United States, this company plans to build 2.5 million stations worldwide by 2025. This company wants to dominate the world in terms of EV charging stations. So this is a huge opportunity for growth, with the comfort of knowing that this company is absolutely going to get a piece of that $500 billion. At its current price, it's just a no-brainer that this company is going to go up in the years ahead as they expand across the world and they join forces with even more household brands. And it's probably why Wall Street analysts are putting price targets at $46 for this company, which is more than double its current price. And just think, the next time you go to Starbucks or pass one by, you might just see their products in action. So what that means is, as an investor, you're going to get paid every time some latte drinker plugs in. I think this is one stock that every investor truly needs to know about, especially in this market. So many stocks are in almost a bubble-like state. They're not really growing, not innovating. They're just benefiting from the Federal Reserve's low interest rates. I call it the Great Distortion because it is distorting the value of almost everything from homes to cars and definitely to stocks. But that's why I really love this stock, because it actually has real growth behind it. And it's not just expanding, it is taking off and going global with a product that businesses actually want. Now, Starbucks did not take over the coffee world by accident. And Toyota didn't become one of the best-selling car brands in the world by accident. And they didn't pick this particular EV charging company by accident either. I wouldn't be surprised when other companies come knocking and they want the same thing, more charging stations to attract more customers. So I have everything typed up in an electronic report that I would like to send to you right now, because I think that by this point you realize the just scale of this opportunity. My report's called the #1 stock for America's Great Distortion. I hope you act quickly on it, especially while this stock is less than 20 bucks. And I will do my part and have it to you in a matter of minutes. All you have to do is say yes. Say yes to this incredible opportunity, and say yes to trying out more of my research at absolutely no risk to you. In fact, there should be a button that just popped up below this video, and all you need to do is click it to get started, and I'll show you how to get the report immediately. But that isn't all I'd like to give you today. I've uncovered another new development, one that I think could also make you a lot of money as this market expands. In fact, you won't believe what's going to happen in a few years to these EV charging companies. Watch closely. It's a wireless technology that you've probably already been familiar with. Watch this car drive over this pad. That's without a cord or cable. That car is actually charging. It's 100% wireless. How is that possible? Well, you know those wireless phone chargers where you rest your phone on a pad and it charges without a cable just by placing the phone over the charging pad? I don't know about you, but I remember being blown away when that wireless charging came out 10 years ago. And never in literally my wildest dreams would I imagine that the same exact thing would now be in development for electric cars. It's still in its earliest phases, but it's just amazing the results that they've achieved so far. Check out this plugless Model S behind the scenes. See how it's just sitting on top of that charging pad? That's all it has to do to charge its battery. Honda also has a vehicle in the works using this new type of charging. I've discovered just a handful of tiny companies are actually behind it. This technology is still in its earliest phases, but these are companies to keep on your radar, especially once they go public. The bonus report is called Going Wireless, the Future of EVs. I'd like to give it to you in addition to my the #1 stock for America's Great Distortion. So just click that button below and you'll be at the final step. But I can't click that button for you. You have to act if you want the chance to be wealthier, and I hope you do. Because just too many people are falling behind in this country, even the people doing everything right, working hard and saving, they just can't catch a break. Data shows that 48% of people who make over $100,000 are now living paycheck to paycheck. And stats like these are why I believe that in an economy that makes no sense, you must have a guide. And I would really like to be that guide for you. Because going at it on your own and Googling your own stocks can actually be dangerous. 90% of people lose money that way. That's worse odds than Russian roulette. Who wants that? Instead, I would like to personally send you my best investment recommendation each month. I want to help you avoid these pitfalls and to grow your wealth in the process. That's what I'm committed to doing. All you have to do is click that button on your screen. I can also show you the model portfolio that I recommend building and which stocks to fill it with. I'm sure that you've noticed that things are happening faster than ever. The rallies, the sell-offs, we have rising prices, rising inflation. New industries are emerging and old ones are dying. We have easy Fed money causing speculation everywhere, and in turn it's distorting the markets and the value of everything. It's these reasons why I started my monthly newsletter, Distortion Report. It helps readers cut through all the noise that the market is throwing at you and reveal the best investments in the market every single month of the year. So all you have to do is click that button on your screen and finish the final step to start receiving it. Now, I am sure that you've had some winners on your own these past few years when the market was a bit easier to navigate. But that's not why I think you need Distortion Report. It's because right now the markets are more volatile than ever. It's because you can shave years off of your savings with just one wrong move. And do you really want to undo years of your hard work? Of course you don't. I can show you how to not only survive this distorted market, but to thrive in it. And don't just take it from me. Please take it from my readers. Gina B. told me that she worked for the Federal Reserve throughout her life, and my work was the most important she'd read in a decade. Craig W. said Prins in a just world could easily receive the Nobel Prize for economics. And in a world of fake news, Steve G. put it best. Nomi Prins doesn't sensationalize or create fear. Now, with the price of everything going up and up and up nowadays, some people make the mistake of thinking that that applies to my research too. But far from it. Normally, Distortion Report costs $199 per year if bought directly through my publisher's website. That's actually a steal considering the research teams I used to manage at Goldman, Chase, Lehman, and Bear Stearns charge thousands of dollars per hour. And it's a mere fraction of what my Wall Street salary and bonuses were. But I made my money. For me, it's a passion and it's my life's work. So what I like to do is work with as many people as I can and spread the cost out so that it's fair to everyone. So today, I would like to get you Distortion Report for the next 12 months for just $49. That is 13 cents a day. That gives you all of my monthly analysis for the next year, including the best investment opportunity every single month, plus access to my website and, of course, those special reports that I've prepared for you. It also shows you the model portfolio that I recommend building. You'll see a lot of different sectors. New energy and infrastructure should be obvious from today's briefing. But I also have tech companies, crypto companies, meta-reality companies, and more. All the sectors that you should be investing in, I have stock recommendations for each of them. But what I think you'll love most is I'm going to let you try Distortion Report and access the website and the portfolio completely risk-free for the next 60 days. Meaning it won't cost you a thing if you decide that you want to keep going about it on your own and cancel. I'll respect your decision either way. So you have 60 days or 100% money back. And I've checked, and 60 days is actually twice as long as Amazon's return policy. So what's there to lose? If nothing else, it allows you to get my research on these EV stocks immediately. It also allows you to see the full distortion report model portfolio immediately. And you can keep all of the research as a show of good faith, even if you decide to use these 60 days and then cancel. So, to recap, you'll get all of this. All you have to do is say yes to receiving distortion report. Just click that button on your screen. Just one click is all it takes to get started. And remember, you have the full 60 days to decide if it's right for you. I think that gives you plenty of time to consider the ongoing value of something like distortion report. Think about it this way. A subscription to Netflix and Amazon Prime sets you back hundreds of dollars each year. And as nice as it is to get movies and packages quickly, those services actually never put money back in your pocket. On the other hand, I could be alerting you to the best investments in the market every single month for the next 12 months, and it's not going to cost you hundreds. I'm offering you all of this for 13 cents a day, just $49 for one full year. So go ahead and click that button. If you still need some reassurance that this is a good decision, I get it. These folks crossed paths with me just like you. And look what they said. Jeff T. looks forward to every issue, and he said, I like reading your newsletters as they always contain useful, relevant, and interesting content. Gary S. likes the live on the scene reporting part of my research. He wrote in saying, your videos from across the US are great, both in content and seeing that you're out there doing boots on the ground work. And Leah B. told me simply, great newsletter, Nomi, and I'm a follower. I did not ask these people to write that, nor did I ask the hundreds of people who reviewed me on Amazon. I like to think that my reputation precedes me. And with your 60 risk-free days, you'll find out for yourself. But before you click and start your journey, there's just one final thing that I would like for you to do. I want you to consider all of the data that you've just seen. Oil companies abandoning oil fields in the face of rising record oil prices. Every major car maker and Fortune 500 company converting their fleets over to electric. 500,000 EV stations in the works. A paper trail of $500 billion from Washington. Hedge funds, billionaires, startups, all of them are frenzying in the sector that will experience nonstop growth for the next 8 years. Believe it or not, some people are going to flat out refuse to recognize these facts. Some are going to even laugh at it all or even mock it, just like they laughed at Drake and those earliest investors in oil. But I look at all of this as stubborn pride, refusing to admit what's in front of you or some stubborn attachment to gas. Making that decision will only lose you money. And I just cannot recommend that you do that. And that brings me to essentially the only choice you can make. The option to act and to get the details on the stock that I've told you about. The chance to get more of my recommendations hand-delivered to you every single month, and the potential to make a lot of money from my recommendations over the next 12 months. I promise you, you're going to start seeing more and more of those stations, just like the one I was reporting from. If you remember your history, it only took 12 months for oil to go from men laughing about it to having more than 60 wells in the state of Pennsylvania alone. Soon, folks will be paying as little as 3 cents per mile and enjoying massive savings from the pain at the pump. 50% of the cars on the road are soon going to be electric. 500,000 charging stations will be springing up across the country and in your hometown. And the parallels of history are going to play out once again. Just think, what if you're walking in a Starbucks parking lot in the next 12 months and you see one of these charging stations? This is a huge opportunity. You're going to have a physical reminder of wherever you go. And at the center of this massive new trend is the stock I told you about. If the evidence is any indicator, this stock could rise 10 times in value, just like we saw with Beam. Over the long haul, it could rise 30 times in value, just like we saw with Blink. You've seen the proof. It's happened before, and it's happened for the right stocks, and it will happen again. All you got to do is click that button below and get started. Thank you so much for watching.